Tell me, Edward, how does it feel to realize that the woman you called unmotivated signs your paychecks? Grace Williams stood at the podium of Phoenix Global Industries' Grand Conference Hall, her voice slicing through the shocked silence of 300 executives, investors, and board members. Her navy blue suit was perfectly tailored, and in her hands, she held two photographs, her twin sons, Caleb and Joshua, smiling at the camera with innocent joy. She stared down at the man seated in the front row, the man who had once promised to build a future with her. Edward Williams sat frozen beside his fiancée, his face drained of all color, finally understanding that the mysterious majority shareholder who had remained anonymous for 2 years, the one whose approval he'd needed for every major decision, every promotion, every strategic move, was the same woman he had divorced 6 months ago. The same woman he had called dead weight. The same woman he had publicly dismissed as a failure. The same woman who now controlled his career, his reputation, and his financial future with nothing more than a signature. You know what they say about karma. Sometimes it takes its time, but when it arrives, it never comes alone. It brings receipts, evidence, and an audience to witness the reckoning. Tonight, Grace Williams was karma personified, and she had brought $800 million in net worth, 65% controlling interest in Phoenix Global Industries, and a team of forensic accountants as her entourage. Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well wherever you're watching from. Whether you're grinding through another work week or finally enjoying some well-deserved rest, I've got a story that's going to remind you that silence isn't weakness, it's strategy. My name is Grace Williams, and this is the story of how I went from being called an unmotivated housewife by my own husband to becoming the woman who literally owned the company he worked for, the career he worshipped, and the future he thought he'd secured by leaving me for his boss. But before we dive deep into tonight's revelation, before we explore how a millionaire CEO can abandon his wife and twin sons for a younger woman and still end up working for the very person he betrayed, I need you to do something for me. Hit that like button if you believe that underestimating a quiet woman is the most expensive mistake a man can make. Subscribe if you think loyalty should be rewarded and betrayal should come with consequences that compound over time. And share this story because everyone needs to know that the person you dismiss today might be the one signing your paycheck tomorrow. But let me start from the beginning, because every empire has a foundation, and mine was built on secrets, strategy, and the kind of patience that only comes from knowing you hold all the cards while everyone else is still trying to figure out the game. 8 years ago, I met Edward Williams at a business conference in Chicago. I was completing my MBA at Northwestern, presenting a paper on corporate governance and minority stakeholder rights. Edward was in the audience, handsome, confident, working his way up the corporate ladder at Phoenix Global Industries. After my presentation, he approached me with that smile that made my heart skip. "You're brilliant," he said. "And you're going to change the business world." Our romance was a whirlwind. Edward was charming, ambitious, and seemingly supportive of my dreams. He attended my graduation, celebrated when I landed my first consulting clients, and proposed on the anniversary of the day we met. My family, working class, proud, overjoyed, embraced him completely. My mother cried happy tears at our wedding. My father, a postal worker who'd worked double shifts to put me through undergrad, told me he was proud I'd found a partner who valued my mind. Edward's family was different. Upper-middle-class whites from Connecticut, they smiled politely but asked questions wrapped in concern. "Are you sure about this, Edward?" his mother whispered at the rehearsal dinner, her eyes flickering toward me. "It's just such different backgrounds." Edward assured her it didn't matter. At the time, I believed him. For years into our marriage, our twin sons were born, Caleb and Joshua, perfect and beautiful. Life seemed complete. Then, 2 years ago, everything changed in ways Edward would never know. Marcus Chen, the founder of Phoenix Global Industries, died suddenly of a heart attack. Marcus had been my mentor since my college internship, the man who saw potential in a young black woman when others saw only limitations. At his will reading, I sat in shock as his attorney revealed that Marcus had left me 65% controlling interest in Phoenix Global, worth $800 million. His letter explained everything. "Grace, you have the vision and integrity this company needs. But protect yourself. Power attracts the wrong attention, and not everyone who loves you today will love you when they discover what you're worth." I made a choice that day. I would keep the inheritance secret, operating through board proxies and shell companies. I maintained my small consulting business as cover, handling billion-dollar deals quietly while Edward saw only modest contracts. At dinner, I downplayed my successes while he boasted about his promotions, his deals, his rising star at Phoenix Global. What Edward didn't know was that every promotion he celebrated, every deal he closed, had been approved by his wife in secret board meetings. 18 months ago, Mira Brown joined Phoenix Global as VP of Strategic Development. I reviewed her hiring package through my board proxy, impressive credentials from Stanford, a track record of successful IPO launches, and some red flags in her employment history that the hiring committee chose to overlook. I approved her anyway. Sometimes you need to let people reveal who they really are. Edward started working closely with Mira on IPO preparations. Within weeks, I noticed the changes. He came home later, smelling of expensive perfume I didn't recognize. Credit card statements showed charges at upscale restaurants during client meetings he never mentioned. The twins, barely 3 years old, started asking heartbreaking questions. "Why doesn't Daddy play with us anymore?" Caleb asked one night, his little voice breaking my heart. I faced a choice: confront Edward or investigate deeper. I chose strategy over emotion. I called Rebecca Martinez, the private investigator who'd helped Marcus Chen with corporate espionage cases. Within 2 weeks, she delivered photographs that confirmed my worst fears. Edward and Mira at intimate dinners, holding hands across candlelit tables, kissing in parking garages. Hotel key card records showed Edward checking into luxury suites on nights he claimed to work late. The affair had started 10 months ago, shortly after Myra's arrival. But Rebecca's deeper investigation revealed something more calculated. Mira had specifically targeted Edward after discovering G. Williams in company ownership documents. She'd assumed G. Williams was a male relative of Marcus Chen, an insider who could secure her position before the IPO. She never suspected she was seducing the majority owner's husband. I made another strategic decision: don't confront him yet. Gather more evidence. Protect the children. Prepare my countermove. While Edward thought he was planning his future with Mira, I was planning something far more permanent. Edward grew increasingly distant and resentful. One evening at dinner, while the twins ate chicken nuggets and I reviewed consulting contracts on my laptop, he looked at me with barely concealed contempt. "Grace, when are you going to think bigger?" he said. "Your little business is nice, but it's not exactly impressive. You need real ambition." I bit my tongue so hard I tasted blood. The man lecturing me about ambition worked for the company I owned. The irony was suffocating. He started comparing me to Mira openly. "Mira understands corporate culture. She's going places. She's the kind of woman who knows how to leverage opportunities." The heartbreak wasn't just that my husband was having an affair, it was watching him fall out of love with me based on who he thought I was, not who I actually was. Then Rebecca's investigation uncovered something worse than adultery. Financial forensics revealed suspicious transactions throughout Phoenix Global's accounts: fake vendor contracts, inflated consulting fees, ghost employees. Edward and Mira had embezzled $2.3 million over 8 months. Email evidence made their plan crystal clear. "Secure our future before anyone notices the discrepancies," Edward wrote. They plan to pocket the money during IPO chaos, resign after going public, and start their own firm with stolen capital. Myra's emails revealed her true character. "Once we're set, I can finally ditch this corporate prison and leave your boring wife in the rearview." Edward's response haunted me: "Grace will never suspect anything. She barely understands my work." This wasn't just betrayal. It was corporate fraud, theft, and complete contempt for the woman who literally owned his career. I expanded my team: forensic accountants, corporate attorneys, custody specialists. I began documenting everything. Edward was planning his exit. Grace was planning his reckoning. Edward came home on a Tuesday evening with divorce papers and moving boxes. His speech was cold, rehearsed, delivered like a corporate presentation. "Grace, we've grown apart. I need someone who matches my ambition. This isn't working anymore." I stayed calm, didn't reveal what I knew. "I understand," I said simply. His demands were cruel and calculated. Full custody of the twins, claiming my failed business ventures, made me financially unstable. He cited Myra's executive salary as proof he could provide better. He also demanded the twins' trust funds, small college savings accounts, he assumed. What Edward didn't know, those trust funds were multi-million-dollar stakes in my private investment portfolio. The documents he was demanding I sign would actually transfer his parental rights to access them, not ownership to him. I signed everything without contest. I was already 10 steps ahead. The twins witnessed their father packing. "Daddy, where are you going?" Joshua asked, tears streaming down his face. "Did we do something wrong?" I knelt down, holding both my sons. "Daddy made a choice, but Mommy will never leave you. Never." Edward moved into Myra's luxury penthouse, paid for with embezzled funds, though he didn't realize it. Meanwhile, I faced society's judgment. Whispers at school pickup, pitying looks from other parents. The assumption was clear: successful white executive left struggling black wife who couldn't keep up. I endured the humiliation silently, building an airtight case. Behind the scenes, my legal team prepared for custody hearings while my board proxy monitored every corporate move Edward and Mira made. The divorce was final. Edward thought he was free. He had no idea his prison sentence was just beginning. 3 months ago, Edward and Mira announced their engagement with a splashy party at the Ritz-Carlton. Society pages featured their photos. 2 Phoenix global executives find love. The business community celebrated them as a power couple destined for greatness. Meanwhile, I fought the custody battle alone. In court, Edward's attorney painted me as financially unstable, weaponizing my small business against me. Ms. Williams cannot provide the stability these children need, he argued. The judge awarded temporary joint custody, pending financial review. I endured supervised visitations, invasive financial audits, and humiliating parenting assessments while my sons grew confused and traumatized by split households. Their preschool teacher reported they were acting out, asking repeatedly when Daddy was coming home. Edward's cruelty reached new depths. He told colleagues I was bitter and couldn't accept that he'd upgraded. Rebecca's team captured video footage of him at a corporate happy hour, drunk and mocking me. Dead weight, he called me, laughing. Marrying Mira will finally give me the life I deserved. His colleagues laughed too, though some looked uncomfortable. Mira played loving stepmother-to-be on social media, posting carefully curated photos with the twins. Private investigator footage revealed the reality, Mira ignoring them completely, calling them baggage when Edward wasn't listening. Behind the scenes, I received updates on IPO preparations. As majority shareholder, I had veto power, but I stayed silent. I let them get comfortable, let them get greedy, let them incriminate themselves further. The IPO date was set. Edward and Mira counted their millions. Grace counted the evidence. We return now to Phoenix Global's Grand Ballroom, where 300 executives, investors, and board members fill every seat. Edward and Mira sit in the front row, dressed to impress, him in his best navy suit, her in a red dress that cost more than most people's monthly rent. The anticipation is electric. Everyone expects the IPO announcement and celebration. The board chairman takes the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, today we finally reveal our majority shareholder's identity. Edward leans toward Mira, whispering confidently, probably some old money family. Doesn't affect us. Then I walk onto the stage. Elegant navy suit, perfectly tailored. In my hands, photographs of Caleb and Joshua. The room goes silent. Edward's face drains of all color. Mira's confident smile freezes into a mask of confusion. Grace Williams, the chairman announces. Majority owner, 65% stakeholder, heir to Marcus Chen's vision. Murmurs ripple through the crowd. Edward's colleagues recognize me, his ex-wife, the woman he dismissed as unsuccessful. I look directly at Edward. Tell me, Edward, how does it feel to realize that the woman you called unmotivated signs your paychecks? My presentation begins. Today I'm here to address several matters: the company's future, recent financial irregularities, and personal betrayals that became corporate crimes. I display my relationship with Marcus Chen, the mentorship that began during my college internship. Inheritance documents fill the screens, will provisions, 2 years of secret ownership. Edward's humiliation is complete. Every promotion he celebrated, every deal he closed, I approved them all. Mira's panic is visible. She seduced the owner's husband. I kept my ownership private to protect my family, I say calmly. Ironic, considering what I was actually protecting them from. I pause, letting the tension build. But the ownership revelation is just the beginning. Now, let's discuss the $2.3 million you stole. Forensic accounting reports flood the massive screens. Fake vendor contracts. Inflated consulting fees. A complete paper trail connecting Edward and Mira to every fraudulent transaction. Email exchanges appear in stark black and white, secure our future before anyone notices. Gasps ripple through the audience. Board members' faces register shock and betrayal. Mira stands, attempting to leave. Security blocks the exits, my instruction. Edward rises, his voice desperate. This is a misunderstanding. Sit down, Edward. I'm not finished. Video footage plays next. Edward at the corporate happy hour, drunk, mocking me. Dead weight, his voice echoes through the ballroom. His colleagues in the audience look mortified. Some avoid eye contact entirely. Now, about Mira Brown, I continue. Except that's not her real name. Meet Mira Castellanos. Background checks display on screen. 3 previous companies. 3 affairs with married executives. A pattern of manipulation and corporate advancement through seduction. Mira's face transforms, Pure rage mixed with fear. Effective immediately, Mira Castellanos is terminated for cause. My voice is steel. Mr. Williams will be reassigned to junior analyst position, the only role where termination would trigger wrongful dismissal costs exceeding the benefit. I pause for effect. Every senior executive you thought would support you, Edward? They owe their positions to my recommendations. Board members nod. Edward's allies remain silent. Here's my offer, return the $2.3 million. Edward surrenders all custody claims, accepting supervised visitation twice monthly. And I won't press criminal charges. You have 48 hours. Choose wisely, it's the first wise choice you'll have made in 2 years. Security escorts Mira out. Police wait outside to question her about fraud. Edward sits broken, destroyed before everyone who once respected him. The public reckoning was complete. But the private confrontation was still to come. Hours after the meeting, Edward appears at my office door, Marcus Chen's former office. The irony finally hits him. This should have been mine all along. Grace, I didn't know, I never meant, his voice breaks. I've known about your affair for 8 months, Edward. His shock is absolute. You knew? I needed time to gather evidence, protect our children, build an airtight case. The small contracts you celebrated. Realization dawns in his eyes. $1 billion deals I downplayed to maintain normalcy. I didn't hide my success from you, Edward. You just assumed I was unsuccessful because I'm a black woman who chose to prioritize our children. The office door opens. Caleb and Joshua burst in. Take your children to work day, running to me. They hesitate when they see Edward. Daddy, why don't you live with us anymore? Joshua asks innocently. Edward breaks down completely. I hold my sons protectively but without cruelty. They'll understand someday that people make choices. You chose Mira. I chose them. We both have to live with those decisions. I announce Phoenix Global's new direction, the Marcus Chen Fellowship for Underrepresented Leaders, the Williams Twins Foundation for Children of Single Parents, zero-tolerance policies for workplace affairs. The future unfolds. Mira faces fraud charges, blacklisted from corporate leadership. Edward lives in a modest apartment, supervised visitations twice monthly, working under my authority. I expand my empire while my sons thrive. Eventually, I find love with someone who celebrates my success rather than resents it. In my office, I read Marcus Chen's letter to my sons. Power attracts the wrong attention. Protect yourself. They thought my silence meant weakness. They were wrong. The quietest person in the room is often the one who owns it. Discretion isn't weakness, it's strategy. And I've built an empire. Thank you for watching till the end. Click subscribe and let me know the lessons you learned in the comment below, and turn on the notification bell because tomorrow I will be giving you another story just as interesting as this one, and you don't want to miss it.